Hello, my absolutely beautiful Sagittarian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2025 for Sagittarius this year. This is not just a horoscope video where we're going to give you the information. This year, Sagittarius, your horoscope video has been crafted to be an experience. There are 5 expert astrologers taking you through different departments of life, and we built it for you to put on and get all the juice, like get your fingers pruny in each section, a section at a time. Eat it one little bite at a time. Have a delicious experience with this, because this is built as a resource to help you navigate your year. So we really want you to bring the astrology even into your body and into your planning as you're going to travel throughout the year. So first of all, Sagittarius, timestamps are in the description box down below for you to hit each different section. I'll be taking you through the general astrology, and I'll also be with you every day on Instagram with a daily transit update, and every week and every month right here on YouTube. We're going to have Rachel Lang covering your relationship department of the life, and what are your themes happening there. Sama is taking us deep into your financial world for 2025. Kira is bringing her medical magic, and Tiffany is going to take us into the spiritual development realm. So click in your description box down below, go to the different sections and drink it up, okay? While you're down there in that description box down below, if you don't have your 2025 digital transit calendars, which bring those transits right to your phone so you can see what's happening. Okay, the full moon is actually going to be at 2 p.m. my time, so you're not having to calculate it in all the different time zones, right? You can see it right when it's happening for you. Use my code, get a little discount, but go get it. It's a resource that we use around here all year long. And if this is the year that you are ready to study and speak the language of astrology, go deeper with your study of astrology, I would love to have you in my courses, and those are available at my new school, GAFA, the Grace Astrological Fluency Academy, in the description box down below. Okay, Sagittarius, listen. Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini in 2025, so this is going to bring something different to that relationship zone. You know, maybe you're having really unconventional connections with people. And this is not just romance. This is business. This is in who you connect with in your life that's significant and brings significant change and perspective into your life. This is ways where you learn in partnership to express yourself in ways that you never could before. Now, Saturn and Neptune are also going to pop into Aries, bringing highly creative energy right on up and out of you, but there's a lot of self-expression that needs to come with that as well. So I think that as we explore this horoscope for 2025, you're going to really get the idea of how you can unpack, unfold, grow, what to shed and leave behind, and where to step up, even if your step up means you're stepping up in the back. Okay? All right, Sagittarius, let's jump in and see how these transits are going to be working with you and for you for 2025. So first things first, Sagittarius, as we're traveling throughout 2025 and we're coming in, we want to keep in mind that Pluto is not dancing in and out of Capricorn anymore. It's going to give us a solid stay in the vibration of Aquarius now. And this lights up your 3rd house space. So Pluto's transit through here is about how you communicate, your thought patterns, how you learn. There's a lot of really profound changes that get involved when Pluto is on the table, right? Something is being burned down so something else can be rebuilt. So how you communicate, how you think, how you disseminate, and how you absorb information, this is all going to be getting a change. Now, if you're feeling bit more drawn to exploring deeper truths, or you are put in the position, Sagittarius, to have to learn different truths, especially about the world. And this would be coming up in like your everyday conversations. And it's almost like, you know, it's uncovering hidden aspects of something about a perspective that you've had, a mindset, or a way that you've communicated. This transit is going to reveal those things to you. But what it can also do with that is reshape your relationships with the people around you, because you're going to have a really different worldview as this is being uncovered, discovered, discarded. Now, what it can also do is bringing you into a very different relationship with people who are in close relationship to you, like your siblings, your cousins, your neighbors, things like that. It brings an opportunity for some healing conversation or transformation in how you communicate. So I want you to just know we're in it for the long game. 2043 is how long we're going to work on this. And the beginning of a transit is usually the most intense. So, try to embrace this period, Sagittarius, realizing that there is a focus on your intellectual, your mental and your communication growth. And if you can participate more willingly, surrender willingly, any outdated thought patterns or ways that you used to communicate that are not really serving you, this will help you work with the transit instead of against it. Now, also in 2025, we are coming in with the brakes on because Mars is retrograde. Now, Mars is retrograde as we are traveling here January 6th in fellow fire energy, Leo, but this lights up your 9th house space. So you're in this reevaluation of your expansion sector, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, travel, international travel. Your worldview, again, is getting some reshaping. Anything having to do with education, right? Again, this could be you're rethinking something like this. Now, Mars is still Mars. So let me address that first. That this is a time as Mars is retrograde here, really all the way from December of 2024 until now, where you can experience a lot of frustrations, or it's like delays, or something that feels like conflict in regards to higher education, travel, this worldview, right? And it pushes you to reassess not only what you're doing, but the motivation behind why you're doing what you're doing. So this portion of the retrograde is really a time for you to be refining your vision of what you want, what motivates you, what's in alignment with where you really want to go and what you really want to do. Now, the one thing I would share is that I would avoid, and this is again going to be from December 6th of 2024 until January 6th of 2025, I would avoid making any really impulsive decisions related to your education, to your travel, to your worldview. Instead, you're going to have to practice a little bit of patience and a lot of introspection. Just on the 7th of January, that Mars retrograde goes back into Cancer. So this will light up your 8th house space. And this is all about intimacy. Intimacy, you see into me, shared resources, vulnerability, trust, death, debt, taxes. There's a lot of vulnerability that comes with this area, and we'll be in this vibration until February 23rd, okay? But as Mars is doing this retrograde here through this 8th house, this really is these themes of trust and intimacy, I think, really present themselves to you. Now, you've gone over this area, but it's coming back for the review. Anything also having to do with financial partnerships. So if during this transit you encounter any resolved or unresolved, or you thought they were resolved, but it turns out they are unresolved issues, and there will be several of those, I think, in any of these areas, what it's asking you to do is just to address them. Mars wants to address it. Mars wants to burn away the poison, okay? So just remember that this transit is an encouragement for you to, first of all, handle the things that need to be handled, but also to reflect on what is holding you back, I think, in a very Cancerian way, from connecting, from having a deeper connection, from feeling nurtured and secured in your shared responsibilities and connections with other people. And this is a time where Mars is here. You can cultivate more trust. You know, you're seeing the world and the people around you, Sagittarius, in a very different vein. So you may be like, I need to release this emotional block here because it's stopping me from cultivating trust, from sharing my vulnerability, but allowing a little bit more depth in my relationship. Now, again, I would avoid, because it's still Mars retrograde, making any really significant changes to any kind of joint financial arrangement you have, any kind of deep, intimate relationship you have, unless, of course, there is some issue of violence, then, of course, please proceed with changes, right? Now, when we get to the 11th, we see the true north node heading into Pisces, pulling that south node into Virgo. Now, this is going to light up your 4th house and 10th house spaces, and we will work this axis. I just want to put that out there ahead of time. It's not just that it's just blowing in and things are going to happen to us. It's that this is asking us to develop towards that north node in Pisces. Now, the north node here in your 4th house, this is this encouragement to focus on your family, right? Your home, your family, your emotional foundations, your inner emotional foundations, where you live, why you live where you live there. While the south node in Virgo that's in the 10th house is asking you to release these maybe outdated, very rigid expectations you had about career and what you're supposed to do in the world, the public image you're supposed to have, the title that you're supposed to have. Instead, as we work this transit, this axis invites us to find our own very trusting, creative balance of nurturing a life that supports our inner world and creates a supportive home environment for us, while also knowing that we can support ourselves out in the world, knowing that we can have different professional goals than maybe our parents had and our society had before, and that allows you to, I think, have a better alignment as we travel well into 2026 with this, to focus on aligning those outer achievements that you will achieve in the world with what actually gives you some kind of inner peace, okay? When we get to March 1st, Venus is going to take this retrograde in Aries, lighting up your 5th house space. So this is going to be lighting up the area of pleasure, play, joy, fun, self-expression, what's right for you, romance, Sagittarius. I like that word, romance for you, right? Creativity comes in here as well. But Venus, being a personal planet retrograde, is closer to the earth. It's a lot more intensity. So we do feel it here, okay? But it's bringing your attention to all matters of your heart, of your creativity. So if you're feeling drawn to revisit, first of all, a past connection of something that you did or a way you expressed yourself creatively, maybe you were into a lot of art, or you were into places that had more passion or fire to them and you really like that. Maybe you're revisiting past romantic situations and evaluating those things. What value did they bring into your life? Aries, how are you going about having romance in your life, Sagittarius, right? Whatever it is, this transit is going to encourage you to assess or reassess how you express yourself and how you go after what brings you joy, because you've got to go get it in order to bring that, to have that alignment with what you desire and have those experiences. Venus is about, we're going to create the container so that it draws to us, but you've got to go create that container and get clear about what you value in this area so that you can draw to you what you want. Now, my one really big caution is that during a Venus retrograde, I would avoid making a massive commitment to a new creative project, to a new relationship, to a decision with your children, because as soon as Venus comes out of retrograde, and usually it doesn't take very long, it's like, hold on, I missed some really important details here. So instead, use the Venus do the Venus reset. Yes, that's a course I have. I would love for you to do that. Instead, use that time to just reconnect to your inner artist, to your child's inner artist, and to look at how you can express yourself in a way that's really authentic to you. Now, March is going to bring us into eclipse energy. First, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, lighting up that 10th house space. So we're going to start our eclipse season by resetting and cleaning out the garden of your career, of your public image, of how you define success, right? The things that are authority stories in your life. So this eclipse here in the 10th house at that south node is a time to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. It's time to pivot. It's time to have a culmination or some kind of release in this career and or just public life, your reputation life. So if you feel connected to letting go of some personal ambition you had, you were like, I always thought it was going to be this, right? This is what was going to be perfect. If it doesn't align anymore, especially over this next 6 months, if you're like, I don't actually value that anymore, then you'll likely be making that pivot. But it's a powerful time as well from this eclipse through that next 6 months to get the clarity you need about what you do have as a long-term aspiration for yourself, to set your intentions here for what you want or what you think you need that will support authentic success for you, right? Because from Sagittarius, you can go out and you can do whatever personal, professional achievement that you want. You are smart. You are brilliant. You can do it. You can go get it. But I want you to have an opportunity to release the attachments to roles or to titles that someone else gave you that don't actually serve you anymore, because this will help you redefine success on your own terms. And if you can do that, the goals that you set will align with your values and it's easier to bring them to fruition, okay? And the world is changing so much. You may have a very different vision of what success is to you. On March 29th, we've got the new moon solar eclipse, and this is the last one in our Aries Libra axes, okay? You've done a lot of work here in this fifth house. Getting your expression together has really been a whole project, but you had 23, 24 to work on it. So now as this new moon comes around, I think you're prepared, right? I think you are ready to take this marking point of a fresh start and plant your seeds of intention for pursuing a life that has the passion that you want, or just your passion, something that expresses who you are, brings you joy, brings you an expression. This is a great time to start projects that bring you joy, right? Start projects where maybe you have to take a little risk to start a romance. You know, if you feel inspired at this lunation and through the next 6 months to do the artist's way, to embrace your inner artist, to open your heart and say, okay, I'm going to be open to new romantic possibilities. I'm open to children. I'm open to what my children want to be open to. This is a great opportunity to just embrace that energy. Now, March 30th, Neptune moves into Aries, into this fifth house place. And while Neptune can blur the lines, it can absolutely blur the lines and put some unrealistic expectations into the air and into the vibration, and you can lose your boundaries, all of these kinds of things. The thing that I think that Neptune may do well here is, first of all, draw you back to your artistic, creative self, right? It may be calling you to take a bit more action towards a spiritual path that really sits right with your insides and your intuition. But it also, more than anything, I think Sagittarius gives you massive permission to explore your imagination and to express yourself in ways that are more intuitive and more inspired. And the thing about Neptune to keep in mind, and we'll have a whole separate transit video on this as well, but Neptune creates it in an intangible place, and then we bring it into tangible space. So you may be creating a life that you want. You may be creating a project or art or a spiritual connection that you want in a very intangible place right now, but go with it. Go with it. Just remember to set some boundaries, right? You don't want to get so far off of the ground that you forget that your feet still need to be planted here. Now, Saturn offers a little bit of help with that. May 24th, Saturn now moves into Aries as well, and Saturn's presence here in the fifth house is going to encourage discipline. We need a disciplined approach to creativity, right? And it sounds heavy, but it is this space, I think, with Saturn and Neptune here where it's head in the clouds, feet on the ground, belly button tucked in, standing tall. That's where I see this energy leading for you. So we need discipline in our creativity. We need to learn that romance in itself, while whimsical as it is also a skill. You need to learn to date. You need to learn how to cultivate romance, your self-expression, right? But you'll commit, I think, as well, Sagittarius, to many projects or relationships, but they will have one theme in common. They have long-term potential. They help you build a solid foundation for something long-term, and Saturn will really help you to create the life that you want here. Now, Jupiter moves into Cancer on June 29th here, and as this happens, it's going to light up, first of all, your eighth house space. So intimacy, you see into me. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's shared resources, massive detox and personal transformations available here. So Jupiter's presence here, first of all, yes, it offers these opportunities for optimistic growth, right? To expand in ways that you never have before. But more importantly, I look at where this naturally inspires you to move. So if you feel called to deepen your connection or explore like a different way of having shared resources, working, having a financial dynamic, this is the time to embrace that change, because there is abundance available for you, and it may not be in the ways that have been traditional. You know, it may be in ways where you create collaborations that bring that abundance into your life that you didn't see before. So embrace this is what I would say. Embrace the opportunity to grow here, especially in relationships, in financial partnerships. But the focus, because Jupiter also wants you can't have the wisdom without the experience. So focus on building trust. Focus on building security, especially in any place that you are sharing your resource financially, your heart, your body, your energy, right? because it's still the 8th house. You will be on the exploration as well, Sagittarius, in the journey of the depths of your emotions and how you participate in cultivating that really transformative connection with those that you're sharing your resources with. Now, Jupiter will square against Saturn June 15th, and then it'll square against Neptune June 19th. And as we look at these tensions that are building here, it's really this space where you're like, I need this emotional depth. I want to really go there, right? But I also need to be able to express myself. So you feel this challenge. And it's the challenge to balance where I have a shared responsibility and where I have my own personal passions. And Neptune here can blur the lines a little bit. It's like, no, I just want to go into this shared space. But the boundaries here, you're having to learn about setting them and creating realistic expectations of how you are going to share the space. Now, the one thing I could say is, in general, with Neptune involved, try to avoid over idealizing anything, especially something financial or something, where you're like, I really have to have this financial commitment or this emotional commitment, or I just can't be, in a very overblown, dramatic kind of way. Instead, try to use that Saturnian side. Build practical goals that align with your values, that allow you to live the dream, okay? All right, when we get to July 7th, Uranus is in Gemini, lighting up that 7th house space, so expect some excitement. Expect some unpredictability in your relationships. Uranus here is saying these relationship dynamics need a shakeup. We have to innovate partnerships. We need to explore some independence and what that really means from you. And in the 7th house, it's conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships. So it's not just romance. It's you with your society, you with your whatever you call God or a higher power, right? You with your significant relationships in your life. And right now, it's like you need to break away from, you're being called to break away from maybe what's a traditional partnership, maybe what's an opportunity to explore a new way to relate to other people, right? Because this transit is going to encourage you to embrace that. What is your individual way where you find connection? And for some people, because you are a traveler, Sagittarius, you may be looking around your home country and you're like, I don't feel the connection here. I don't want to live like this. For me, it's better to live in Prague, wherever you find your space. What I would say here is be open to the changes in your relationships and stay flexible. When Uranus gets involved, we have to stay flexible because you're just being moved around. Roll with the movement, okay? Also, use this time to really explore the partnerships that support you authentically, support you growing in a direction that you want to go, okay? All right, when we get to July 31st, Saturn and Neptune are officially in this conjunction in Aries. And again, we've got one. Saturn wants to create the structure. Neptune wants to dissolve it. But as these two come together, I think it helps you bring your creative or romantic dreams into reality because you're, first of all, going to be Saturnian. You're willing to commit to it in some meaningful way, some meaningful project, some meaningful relationship, right? But you're also getting to put the discipline in place to allow practicality to let the dream unfold. So use this time, if you can, to think about how you can ground any creative pursuit. And I'm telling you, travel can be a creative pursuit, but how do you ground that creative pursuit, endeavor, relationship in tangible efforts? That will really help you go a long way. September 7th brings the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. Now we're flashing back to September of 2024 where things got started. We had some new moon energy over there, okay? Now we're going to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. So this eclipse is a wiping out. It is a resetting. We will have powerful releases in your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property, what brings you emotional security, right? So you may be feeling this lift or this urge to really let go of patterns or maybe even just attachments that have been preventing you, Sagittarius, from creating a life in a nurturing environment, right? This is a time that while you're being eclipsed, I want you to remember that what's at the base of it is that this is a time for renewal, for emotional healing and renewal. So this is going to be, from this time moving forward through the next 6 months, a time to reflect on any family or home related issues. And this includes issues with your country, and use this time to grow, for creating supportive, harmonious spaces, even loving your home. Create a space where you live that feels like your foundation. You can put your feet there, okay? When we get to September 21st, we've got a new moon solar eclipse, and this one is in Virgo. Now, we started the year cleaning out and weeding that garden, and now we're going to plant some seeds of intention here in your career zone. So the career zone is ready to take off, okay? So you've got your seeds of intention. You are planting them for professional growth, but focusing on goals that align with who you are, who you know yourself to be today. Don't plant the seeds to just have a job, to just pick a career. If you don't love what you're doing, you will burn out, right? So if you feel inspired to pursue or to look a particular direction that you feel called to, you feel like this is in alignment with who I am, and specifically, I think too, to take on more leadership roles, do it. Embrace the opportunity. Embrace the opportunity to advance in your career, but let there be some realistic goals, okay? Focus on building a professional image as well. What kind of look are you carrying around, and what is your look bringing into the room before you are? So create and cultivate a professional image that reflects your values and reflects the direction that you want to go, because it's also going to call your tribe to you, who helps you go in the direction you would like to grow. Sagittarius, it's a really big year. Lots of shakeups on your board, but it's all about, like, when you sift through that sand on the beach, when you're putting it through the little strainer thing, you get the beautiful soft sand that's left when you let the rest of the shakeups get those crazy things out that don't belong there, or not going to make the path as smooth as possible. All right, you got a lot going on in relationships. I'm going to pass you over to Rachel Lang so she can give you a full look at your relationships for 2025.
Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your 2025 horoscope for love and relationships. I'm astrologer Rachel Lang, and I'm excited to help guide you into the next year. And this is quite a year. 2025 and 2026 have a lot of shifting currents, outer planet changes, which tend to bring about some of the larger cultural shifts and cultural changes that we experience and that affect our lives. For you, relationships are a hot topic this year. The eclipses along the Virgo-Pisces axis line are going to be touching you at some point in March and in September, but all throughout the year as those north nodes transit through those signs. And what that means for you is that it's a time to really create stability within your home life. And it's also time to be thinking about how do you balance your professional obligations and your public life with your family and with your personal life. So if you've been single and you're thinking about maybe dating, it's a time to crack open your heart, open up the door to those possibilities. And conversely, if you've been on the fence about a relationship or you've been having some relationship challenges, this can be one of those times when the ground underneath you starts shaking, rumbling the effects of change in your life and letting those changes ripple out. So it's going to be an action-packed year. None of us are going to be aboard, but especially you. Not only that, Uranus is the planet of change, freedom, new beginnings, excitement. Uranus starts to dip into your opposite sign at part of this year, in the summertime. And Uranus is a change agent. And when Uranus is in your opposite sign, one of the ways that you experience change is through your relationships, either because you become irritated with the ways in which your relationship is limiting, or because you become irritated because you're single or you're in a complicated relationship circumstance and you just want to break free. And so the key word is freedom, but it's not just freedom from the relationship. Sometimes it's easy to be very black and white about how we look at these things, but it's important for you to think about what real freedom is, and that is that it's the freedom to be yourself any way and in every way that you can. And you can have that, you can create that within the dynamics and the relationships that are currently in your life. Here are the big transits this year. Outer planet sign changes. Venus and Mars are both going retrograde. We'll talk about that in just a little while. Uranus in Gemini, and Jupiter is also in Gemini. So that's expanding all of the challenges that you're having in your relationships. Wherever Jupiter is moving, Jupiter's your ruling planet. And Jupiter, while it's been in Gemini in your opposite sign, has made things feel a little like an uphill climb. It's like the normal luck and ease that you have with just doors opening. Now you're having to push those doors a little bit harder. That starts to change on July 9th, and Jupiter enters Cancer, and that allows some of those doors to open with more ease. We've also got some excitement with Neptune and Saturn dipping into Aries, giving us a preview of their next cycles as well. This year starts with Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde is one of those times when we don't have as much fire as we usually do, even for you fire signs. The springtime is exciting for you, but that winter can be cold. And so when Mars is retrograde, for you, this is particularly influential in how you think about love and relationships, your beliefs around love and relationships. Also, this could be one of those times when you're really looking at the finances that you share with your partner. Who takes on what responsibilities? How do you divide your responsibilities? You might be thinking about things like estate planning, getting together your will, working through in matters of inheritance. And Mars just puts a little bit of a pause button on intimacy as well. So it can be a slow start to 2025. And we want to be aware of conflicts because sometimes when Mars is retrograde, we don't have outlets for our frustrations or our stress. And sometimes that can be challenging and can make difficulties brew beneath the surface. Neptune and Saturn are moving into Aries, and this is lovely for you. This actually highlights romance. And so if you're single, this could be the spark that catches a flame. Even though this is only a temporary period, Neptune has a slower orbit, and so it's entering into a 14-year cycle, but it goes back and forth between Pisces and Aries over the course of this year and into 2026. So this is going to perk things up in terms of if you have said, I don't want a relationship, I want time alone. Neptune starts to play the romantic comedies. It starts to get you your thoughts oriented toward the romantic notions of being in a relationship or just dating. But Saturn comes in and it stabilizes that influence. It can help you to really make some commitments around starting a family, if that's something that you're doing, around working with your partner, collaborating to care for children or attend to the needs or visit your adult children. Saturn brings the bone structure. And sometimes what can happen is if you're not in a relationship and you're feeling alone, that influence of Saturn can feel like you are aware of the ways in which you're lonely or you don't have this. Love and romance are missing, even if you're in a relationship. Then we have Venus retrograde. So this is important. Mars and Venus are both our relationship planets, and they're both going retrograde this year, which puts a lot of pressure on our relationships. During Venus retrograde cycles, it's typical to have someone from the past coming into your present, into your life. That perks up our heartstrings. It brings back memories of who we used to be at certain times in our lives. And sometimes there can be a real love connection. But because Venus is retrograde, we just don't know. And so we want to go into anything really slowly in February, in March, and in April. This is also a time when you're just reconfiguring your priorities, thinking about how to make more time for your love life, how to make more time for the aspects of your life that are enjoyable for you, for hobbies, for spiritual development. Brings relationships into the complex web of all the things that you have going on. And you might determine that now is not the time, and that is okay. Give yourself permission to break the rules or to not do what you think you're supposed to do. Freedom is a key word for you in relationships in July, August, and September. The September eclipses are an opening up for heart healing. And for you in particular, this is especially true if you're thinking about any ways in which your family of origin influenced your love life and the challenges that you might face with your relationships right now. Look at this chart for March 13th. We have a lot of Pisces represented here, and in particular, that Saturn-Sun conjunction. Now, for you, these are challenging signs for you because they put pressure on you to make decisions. And what you're deciding is you are deciding different things related to your home. You're looking at maybe this is a time when you're wanting to cohabitate with somebody, or you're looking to open up your home to someone else or monetize your home. There's a lot of strain in your home life, and that's going to result in strain pretty much everywhere. If a tree's root system is compromised in some way, then the whole tree is going to suffer, especially the ways in which it branches out. And so that's a good metaphor for you to think about as we move into the spring. This is a very healing axis line, the Pisces Virgo axis line. And we see that especially with the March 29th eclipse that is in the sign. Technically, it's the sign of Aries, but the North Node is in the sign of Pisces. And so here we have a replay of some of the eclipses that took place in 2024, especially the one that took place in October of 2024, October 2nd. And this is almost a revisiting of that lunation. This lunation comes with a lot of dreams about what romance can be, the fantasy of what you want it to be. But we have to keep your feet on the ground so that you don't fall in love with somebody's potential or with an idea, so that you really are falling in love with the reality of what can be. Pluto opposes Mars in Leo. Mars is in Leo, Pluto is in Aquarius. And we have this cycle that began in February of 2024. So think back to what was happening at that time. This is a lot of fire energy, which can really grow the passion inside of you. It can fire you up for a cause, or it can get you to feel passionate for your partner. This can raise up your energy. This can be a really motivational influence, but it's really important that you don't get distracted by annoyances or frustrations, that you just allow yourself to move through any kind of challenging circumstance with grace. And sometimes grace is pushing back. Sometimes grace is taking a stand. Sometimes grace is saying, you know what? I'm going to sit this one out and see if there's a resolution that comes on the other side of this. But I'm not going to get involved in something that could be a diminished return. Jupiter is in Gemini, and then it moves into Cancer. And this is important, again, because it's your ruling planet. And so there's a focus on home and family with Cancer. There's also a focus on your shared resources with your partner or your spouse, any kind of business partnership where there are entanglements. Jupiter blesses that. So it says, okay, there might be more of a flow of wealth. You and your partner could get out of debt and could look at maybe even refinancing a mortgage. Interest rates fall and you bought in when the interest rates were really high. This could be a time when you are reevaluating some of those decisions. Jupiter in Gemini does expand the trouble spots in relationships. And so that's happening until July. Then Jupiter enters Cancer until July of 2026. And this also could be a time when you're really rethinking your home. And is your home what you want it to be? Or maybe even looking at buying a new home or a second home or a vacation rental. Mercury retrograde is always one of those times each year where our communication can have hiccups or glitches. And in particular, the November one it's in your sign. And so this is the one you want to put on your calendar from November 9th through the 29th. November in general is a little bit more peaceful than some of the other times in the year. But this particular retrograde for you really brings up questions of, are you being heard? Are you being seen? Are you getting to express yourself with your partner? And so any imbalances that you have in your partnership will probably be under a microscope. The September eclipses are also a big feature of the year. This is the one on September 7th. These eclipses mark endings. They are about saying goodbye. And for some of you, this actually might be moving to a place that's much further than where you are. There is a lot of activity that's taking place with Saturn, with the moon. Saturn's at the 29th degree. So this brings up all kinds of health things, which I'm sure you're going to hear about in other videos. But Saturn in Pisces can just be, we don't know what we want. We're in a period of confusion, and we're not quite in the new cycle that comes in 2026, but we don't have any context for where we are based on where we've been. So we're in this real interesting liminal space this year, and it all comes to a culminating point in September. The one little saving grace here is that we have Venus and Leo just adding to the flavor of where can we find joy? Where can we find pleasure? We're going to find it in our social circles. We're going to find it in our relationships. Perhaps those friendship relationships, perhaps those professional relationships, if not our romantic relationships. And on September 21st, this eclipse has a lot of saying goodbye. We have the sun and moon both at 29 Pisces. Mars over here is at 29 Cancer. Saturn's at 28. Neptune's moving back to 29. So the 29th degree of a sign is called a critical degree. And this is one of those degrees where you have to do some letting go. And what are you letting go? You're letting go, perhaps some of you, if you're going through a divorce or a breakup, you're actually letting go of your home. You're letting go of your identity as a married person. You're letting go of something that feels really painful at the time, but it opens you up to a whole new chapter in your life. And so it's going to be, we can't judge it as good or bad. It's just what's necessary. And it's what's destined. It's what is on your soul's journey, what's on your soul's path. Some of you might be saying goodbye to your single identity or a professional identity so that you can stay home with children, or your spouse is making enough to where you can take some time off. And so there are all sorts of identity fluctuations and changes in terms of your home life, in terms of how other people perceive you. And your mission is to really keep your ego out of it. And so if your ego is really hung up on an identity, like your job or your relationship or where you live, then you want to rethink that, because the ego, these challenging transits, much more rocky to move through. Uranus is in Gemini this year from July 7th to November 8th. And again, Uranus is the planet of change. It's the planet of new beginnings, sudden, unexpected surprises. And Uranus in your opposite sign brings up all kinds of strange things in your love life, like sudden connections that, where is this going? This doesn't feel stable, but I really like how it feels. It can also bring up just shifts in your current relationship, like changes in how you relate to one another. This is especially true if you're born on the cusp, on the first cusp, or within the first couple of days of Sagittarius. That's when Uranus is going to be opposite your sun. Or if you have any points in early degrees Sagittarius, this also applies to you. And it's going to feel a little bit like a roller coaster ride for the next 7 years. So you want to hold on and when it's time and let go when it's time. Raise your hands up and say it's going to be adventurous. And it's possible that you could meet several people at one time and have to make a decision. That's something that I do see on occasion when Uranus is moving through the opposite sign, or if you're a Sagittarius rising through your seventh house. And then I'm just putting the November 17th grand trine here. That is a bright spot for you because it's right in the thick of that Mercury retrograde when things are feeling a little confusing and you're wondering, maybe you're feeling more alone or you're feeling like people just aren't seeing you or aren't hearing you. This grand trine is a nice little reprieve, and it says you get to have a break. And I would really relish that break, really enjoy any kind of peaceful activities that are happening for you before the holidays, before the stress of the holidays, before your birthday season. Take some time and just be. So now I want to leave you with a mood board. Here are some images that you can reflect on as you move into 2025. So we have friendship as a theme, connecting with people, meeting new people, but really, because of all the retrogrades, spending time with people from your past, people who know your history. This is a year of freedom thanks to Uranus, but it's also a year of really setting your sights on a new destination or reaching up for the stars in whatever ways you can. The support from Neptune and Saturn and Aries is going to be really helpful. It gives you an extra boost. Also, this is a year where Saturn is asking you to start thinking about deepening commitments, engagement, marriage, starting a family. And if that's not the phase of life that you're in, then it could also be a commitment to adopt a pet, a commitment to have a new job, to buy a house. It's also a year of brilliant ideas. And so your mind is working to shift beliefs and to open up new pathways for yourself. And don't forget to embrace joy. Joy is one of your key words, and it's definitely an energy that you want to bring into 2025. I am here cheering you on. I know it's going to be a great year because you're a Sagittarius. You have the ability to turn lemons into lemonade, and you've had some lemons over the last couple of years. So now you get to enjoy the lemonade, and I think it's going to be a year full of wonder and surprises for you.
Sagittarius, so you guys will have the North Node moving into Pisces in your fourth house of home, family, emotional foundations, and assets. So some of you will experience changes in your property investments. Pisces often indicates a reevaluation or shift in the emotional ties you'll have with assets, including family, homes, or inherited property. So you might be pushed to sell or reinvest those assets into long-term investments or secure financial instruments. You might be considering the sale of a family property either due to changing family dynamics or due to a change in financial security, where we're looking into taking profits and looking into reinvesting them in something more stable. This can look like just long-term asset management, a more holistic and intuitive approach, bringing more of the feelings and the hunches into like I should look at my money situation, my real estate situation a bit. And so, is this really suiting my needs? Do I really feel like I want to be involved in this anymore? There might be things that you're invested in that you no longer are interested in. Now, if you own a home or you're interested in buying a home, you might be experiencing property value fluctuations in where you live because Pisces brings mutable energy here related to the fourth house of property. So this can be influenced by external factors like political shifts or market volatility, not necessarily even something you did. The real estate market might just be fluctuating in properties you're interested in or properties that you own. So keeping a close eye on the market and how that might affect you can keep you informed. And maybe you might even experience some opposition in real estate deals. So just be careful with that. Okay. So consider the legacy of the land, or making sure that the value or any political aspects as it relates to any land or property that you're looking at aren't going to be an issue. Then we're going to have Neptune conjoining the North Node here, which can bring in a sense of idealism and confusion. So watch out for any too good to be true offers as it relates to contracts, or any risk or borrowing or leverage as it might relate to real estate or family members who might want to borrow some money, or anything related to vehicles or the home, or any water related damage or issue to the home as well. Speculation volatility is going to be really big with real estate here. From a positive perspective, social and environmental investments look good. If you're using your money to invest in green energy or ETFs or stocks related to real estate or agriculture. If you're curious about which stocks I'm looking at from a financial astrological perspective mixed in with real world fundamentals, my 2025 yearly report covers those types of stuff. And renting or leasing land for financial stability with the focus on the fourth house can be an asset for some of you guys here. Mars is going to be moving direct in the eighth house of Cancer, of shared resources, transformation, bonds, and taxes, inheritances, and broader market income and sales and wins and losses from markets. So shared resources and joint ventures with Mars moving forward makes it a key time to move forward with partnerships, especially if you've been reflecting on them since the end of 2024. Whether it's a business or an investment decision you're making with a spouse, a family member, or a close associate, it can be a great opportunity to move forward and launch it, pooling resources together to invest in a property or a business, negotiating a favorable deal, and getting stake in a growing company, or even taking some profits from markets or a portfolio that might already even be doing well at this time. Some of you might be looking at refinancing some debts or some loans as it relates to reducing or managing debts or consolidating debts, or even going to the bank to refinance a mortgage, particularly if you got one in the past year or two while rates were high. Okay, so investments and inheritances, legacies, working with banking and financial institutions. Mars even wants to influence some more risk taking, so just be careful with that, especially in areas like stocks, cryptocurrency, or real estate, because the eighth house emphasizes the importance of strategy over long-term planning over impulsive actions. You do want to be careful. So even though Mars wants to push you forward, Mars can be emotional, and in the eighth house of crisis and ups and downs, there might be volatility there. So just make sure that what you're investing in for the long term will benefit you, and make sure that any decisive financial actions aren't just emotional. They benefit you for the long term, that you're being strategic and securing the future by being careful. March 14th, full moon total lunar eclipse in Virgo in the 10th house of career and legacy. So you might find yourself stepping into a leadership position, taking on more responsibility, promotion to a managerial role, especially if it relates to paying fine attention to detail. This could be looking like more project management, administrative work, healthcare, writing, speaking, leading major projects, showing off your organizational skills. And this might even bring public recognition for your achievements and your public image, your public persona. So you might get some media coverage or social recognition. There might even be a change of leadership at your company. You might be stepping up into leadership, or the company that you're working for might even restructure, which can affect your role. It could even be a new CEO. Government or political leaders can shift and affect the business conditions that you're working in, or the financial market. So watch out for any new regulations. There could be even career shifts or changes for many of you Sagittarius, where you leave your current job and shift into a role that more aligns with your long-term goals. You might even move into a whole new industry altogether, because the one that you've been in might be feeling a little stale. And for some of you, this can look like leaving a stable corporate job to start your own business. If you own your own business, this eclipse can affect how the public perceives your business, where the public is receiving you more, or there might be fluctuations there. Might be a change in customer preferences. Maybe the way you were doing things once is no longer what they want from you. So refining your approach and improving your public image and the conditions of that house is going to be very key. Then we're going to have the new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. That's going to be around the 29th. That talks about new beginnings and speculative investments. So starting a new business in creative industries, tech startups, innovations can be profitable. And then we're going to have Neptune enter Aries right after that, which talks about inspiring creativity and financial ventures. But that can also bring confusion or deception in investments, so you want to watch for that. Okay, so just be careful for any too good to be true offers. Saturn's going to enter Aries there in May, which will bring any clarity, any confusion Neptune may have brought. for long-term creative investments. You can invest in creative things, and that's the energy here, but is it for the long term? Are we bringing a disciplined approach to our creative pursuits or our business ventures related to art, entertainment, or speculative portfolios or markets? So if you've been thinking about starting a business here, this period is going to demand that for the next 2-3 years that you are structured and putting in daily efforts, especially if it relates to anything creative. Just be careful, be practical, and expect delays. Okay, so that's going to be the key there. And make sure that any risk taking you take now from a portfolio or investment perspective is structured, because Saturn is going to force a revaluation there. Okay, entrepreneurial endeavors can go well, but Saturn demands a need for a realistic, disciplined planning and not being impulsive. Okay, Jupiter is going to enter Cancer in your 8th house. That's going to expand your joint finances. That's the rule of your chart. So it's important where Jupiter goes, and that means you can invest in a property with a partner or family member, taking advantage of favorable real estate markets during this transit. This can look like inheritance and estate planning, business partnerships, loans and financial support, real estate investments, working on consolidating debts or financial obligations, investing in family businesses, financial planning and consulting, financial advisors, booking a session with a Jupiterian person like myself who can help you grow assets, can be useful. There's a big focus on planning for the long-term future with Jupiter here, which I like. Uranus is going to enter Gemini in the 7th house of partnerships, marriage, and one-on-one relationships. So that can speak to some volatility with those things there. Uranus wants to bring innovation, so this can talk about new innovative partnerships, especially in sectors related to technology, communication, or education. So connections that you make in those sectors can actually benefit you financially, particularly if you meet them in your local environment. You can be approached to enter a business partnership that involves new cutting-edge ideas, like developing a startup or a tech-driven collaboration. This is the time to go for it, particularly if it involves blockchain or AI. Those are good sectors, but just understand that Uranus tends to bring sudden or unexpected shifts, so that can bring renegotiations or shifts in contracts or deals or terms as well. So just be careful with that. This can also bring disruption in traditional financial models, the connections you have, open enemies, partnerships, and financial partnerships as well. Right, they might make a lot more money or they might not make as much money as they used to. So just be aware of those shifts that can happen with Uranus's effect in the house of partnerships for the remainder of this decade. Now, September 7th, the full moon total lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 4th house. This talks about a focus on the home, family, and emotional foundations. And so the lunar eclipse can often bring endings or culminations. So you might find that issues related to your living situation and family are coming to a head. So are we closing on a home? Are we moving a home? Are we selling a family property? With Pisces ruling the 4th house, this can involve emotional decisions around real estate or investments tied to home life. So something going on in the home on an emotional perspective might affect our emotional judgment. Our financial judgment. We don't want it to cloud our financial judgment, but it might just be that, this house doesn't feel like a home in some cases, or whatever it might be. The eclipse can signify the end of a chapter. And so the emotions might kind of be, as long as we're cautious and careful and it makes sense and it's practical, they might be guiding us towards the resolution of something related to property or family here. Then on the 21st, there's a new moon partial solar eclipse in Virgo in your 10th, which brings the focus back into the career, the public image, the house of your legacy. And so this talks about new beginnings, and the solar eclipse will amplify this new beginning, which talks about, are we starting a new career path? Are we being promoted? Are we taking on more responsibilities in our professional life? This can be a really ideal time to set intentions for long-term goals and career aspirations. Some of you might receive a job offer for a higher position or start a new business venture that enhances your public standing. So this is a really good time to focus on long-term financial growth related to your career. Some of you can invest in professional development. So not on the day of the new moon eclipse, but around the eclipse, putting some money on some coaching or educating yourself, developing yourself professionally, and taking steps that can increase your earning potential in the future. And with that, Sagittarius, it's looking like a good year, particularly with the right partnerships and the right people and the right creative pursuits. With that, reach out to me if you need me, whether it's to book a session or for my yearly report for ETFs and stocks that are likely to do well throughout the year. Be well, good luck to you, one love, and peace.
Hey everybody, Sutherland here, and super happy and honored to be bringing you health astrology for 2025. So we're on to Sagittarius. So in looking at all the astrology and all the changes this year, you actually, I think, have it a little bit easier than some of the other signs. Not super easy, but I think it's going to be quite a fun year. And, there's none of the big planetary shifts happening specifically in your sign. Things are moving in opposition and moving out of square, which I like. I like that there's an easing off for you of some things. Not an eclipse triggering year. I take that back. It is, the eclipses are going to be happening square to you, but you're not in the firing line of the direct eclipses happening it's moving to Pisces, Virgo. But that is an adjustment, with the North and South node moving into Pisces, Virgo, it is going to square. So I would be watching, especially with your things in Sag, as the nodes, I didn't even know I was going to tell you about this, but as the nodes are moving, watch the midpoint of the nodes, the bending of the nodes, for triggering off if it's your sun, your moon, or your ascendant. And that's a great time, especially kind of the week before and the week after that's occurring, to really nourish yourself, get in realignment. Yeah, Sag tends to be, you tend to be pretty healthy. You tend to like exercise. It's a year to keep doing that. I think as both Saturn and Neptune eventually move out of Pisces this year and early next year, but they go into Aries for a while, I think it's going to make getting things done a little bit easier for you health-wise as well. And at the beginning of the year, we have Mars, which is about your action and your drive and sport and your adrenals. It is retrograding in Leo, which is also about creativity, but sport, action. All the fire signs have a bit of rulership of the muscles and action. So can we not start the new year too crazy? You do rule the liver. You need to support your little liver. Don't over abuse it. But it's a great 6 weeks. Not asking you to start a detox by any means, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Detoxing in winter is you can be gentle with yourself, but you don't do big cleanses. But just as Mars is retro, taking the foot off the gas or the pedal and assessing how you expend your energy, especially because this retro is going to be trining Sag. So really looking at and replanning what sports you love, what sports bring you joy, what movement, be it mountain hiking, walking, Pilates, bicycle riding, horse riding even. What is it, skiing? I'll be skiing. What is it that makes you happy and feel great? Because one of the best things for Sag is actually physical movement. Sagittarius, as all the mutable signs, have a bit of issues with blood sugar levels and regulation. A lot of people don't know this, but exercise actually gives you better blood sugar control, especially for the rest of the day, but actually for a couple days. So really taking that Mars retro to vision how you want to be doing your movement and creativity for the year is a great thing to do. Again, with the 3 Mercury retros that are going to happen in, March to April, which is Aries, Pisces, in July, August, which is in Leo, and then November is actually in Sag, your Mercury retro, but it will go to Scorpio. But all 3 Mercury retrogrades this year are fire. They start in fire signs. And so again, it's a restock year. It's a reset. Every time we hit a retro, we should be doing this anyway, but especially for the fires and for Sag, especially that last one, stop, what is working for me physically, what isn't, where am I losing energy, where am I keeping it, how am I going to nourish my nervous system? Because Mercury is all about the brain and the nervous system and about breath. And Sag and running around doing lots of fun stuff, sometimes you don't breathe deep enough. So it's a great year to work on some breath control, breath work, any style of breath work that works for you. Remembering to just pull it in. And yeah, looking at nourishing that nervous system, be it with B vitamin foods, magnesium-rich foods, dark leafy greens, dark chocolate, or, supplements. Make sure you cross-check any supplements with any medication. But yeah, that nervous system, healthy oils, fish oil, eating oily fish, you eat fish, seeds, raw seeds and nuts, olive oil, avocado. Being Jupiter ruled, you tend to desire creamier oil, like more moist, oily foods. So remembering to use the healthier, rich foods rather than the unhealthier ones. So yeah, lots of good oils for you, nourishing that nervous system, which is also part of a rulership for you with the neuromuscular junction. How our nervous system talks to our muscles is very Sagittarius ruled. Always keeping the liver happy for you. So I love doing that by not over drinking if you drink alcohol. But also we don't often talk about the fact that Jupiter is and the rules the liver. And the liver detoxifies everything in the body. Liver and kidneys are your two big detoxifiers. And, all the chemicals that we come into contact with, your liver has to process as well. So just being gentle with your liver, supporting it. Some of my favorite herb teas, again, watch medications, but dandelion root tea, nettle tea are some of my favorite for Sagittarius. What else do I love for you? If you want liver specific, we also have things like St. Mary's thistle. But again, please always check any medications you're on with, any herbs you're going to take. What else? I feel like I've given you a lot of instruction already. We've done Mercury retro. We've done Mars retro. Uranus. Last but not least, Uranus moving into Gemini in July until November. It will go back to Taurus for a little bit, but Uranus moving in, Uranus rules, if we're doing modern, it's, the higher of the nervous system. It's the electrics, the messages being sent, it's energy creation. And when Uranus moves opposite in a sign, you might find that your energy levels feel a little bit more erratic. So really checking in with yourself as Uranus is going to be in Gemini for a while, really watching and going, do I have the energy for this? Do I need to keep some more for myself? And also remembering rest is healing. Sleep is actually healing, and allowing yourself that healing time and not always pushing. If you don't have the energy, don't do it. It's hard for fire signs to do that, but yeah, that's a big one. Again, breath work. I think I already talked about breath work, but once Uranus goes into Gemini, especially, very important. Breath work is incredible, or humming or singing or gargling are all great for vagal nerve tone. And working on that is great to keep our stress levels down, to support our nervous system, which that Gemini to Sag can get really wired up. So yeah, remembering to slow down a little bit, take care of that nervous system. And as Uranus, making some changes now, if you're wanting to make changes with health, making some things now before Uranus hits Gemini is great, because Uranus getting to Gemini it's radical change. Yes, it's your opposite sign, but sometimes other things can happen with that opposition, and you have to change things up because of others or because something to do with your energy, and make the change now before the energy of change hits. And often it'll keep it a little bit easier. But I'm pretty excited for the Saggies this year. Yeah, have fun. Not too much fun, but have fun.
Hey Sagittarius, I'm Tiffany Harelik, and welcome to your 2025 Spiritual Development Forecast. Before we get started today, I want to invite you to jump down into the description box, click on the link to download your 2025 Spiritual Development Horoscope, and that way you'll have a PDF you can follow along throughout the presentation and then also have a copy to refer to throughout the year. And so while you're doing that, let me just tell you a little bit about the numerology. Numerology is a great way to enhance the astrology forecast, and we are in a 9-year in 2025. So numerology breaks life down into 9-year cycles. And so this is a culmination year. This is a year of endings and transitions and beginnings within endings and pathways. This is a year of harvesting the fruits from the seeds that you have planted over the last 9 years. It's kind of that karma boomerang type feeling. What goes around comes around. The 9 is a year of integration. And so you are integrating lessons, ideas, creative projects, lifetime goals. You are integrating a lot into your physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies. So just having some awareness that 9 is a year of integration, completion, and kind of shedding a skin to start a new chapter of life, that it's going to take all year, and that there's some blending going on, some blending within the endings and beginnings. Okay, awesome. So hopefully you have your PDF. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and get this party started. Again, I'm Tiffany Harelik. One more quick goodie for you before we get started. Use the code STORMY2025 and you'll get $10 off the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar. This is the 8th year I've been writing it. I think you're going to love it. It has all of the astrology at your fingertips. So the planetary movements, the ingresses, the retrogrades, the eclipses, and there's fixed star nuance added into the descriptions and interpretations. It's good for all levels of astrology enthusiasts. And hopefully by the end of the year, you'll learn even more about astrology. So, use the code STORMY2025 and get your copy. We also have a print journal form and other goodies for you throughout the year. So keep coming back to the channel. All right, Sagittarius, today what we're going to do is I'm going to do a short review of planets in spiritual development. I'm going to give you your quarterly breakdown, what each quarter means for you specifically. And then I'm going to give you what I see as your major theme of 2025. So let's get started. Perfect. Mercury, right? In terms of spiritual development, Mercury, yes, it rules communications, of course, but it also rules our nervous system. And the quality of our nervous system creates our mindset. It creates the quality of our decisions. And so if you are in a really neutral place, you're probably making good decisions, making good choices, able to hear people, not taking things personally. But if you are in a nervous system state of fight, flight, fright, freeze, right? This, I guess, affects, is what I want to say, the quality of your decisions, the quality of your mindset. With Venus, we look at not just love and money, but also how we spend and receive energy in life, in this life. With Mars, you can look at your natal Mars and write your spiritual mission statement. With Jupiter, this represents our great faith. With Saturn, it represents our discipline, our spiritual discipline. With Uranus, our spiritual network, those groups of friends that we have that keep us forward thinking and hold us accountable to our own spiritual development. With Neptune, right? Neptune represents something that is dissolving. It's the great yoga teacher in the sky, the mystic that informs beyond the veil, right? So whatever is dissolving is showing you some aspect of Neptune's work in your chart. So something is dissolving that needs to evolve. Pluto is that subconscious gold, that buried treasure, that secret hidden part of us that shows us where we are writing our own testimony, writing our spiritual development story. Pluto is very Jungian. It shows us the mysteries of the way that we work, the way that our soul works, right? Chiron shows us where we have master healing going on. So Chiron is known as the wounded healer, but Chiron also gives us that medicine bag with the tools that we need to work through our own pain and suffering. And then those tools can become our professional resources that we use to help other people who are on a similar path as us. The moon shows us our intuition and your psychic ability. You're all psychic. You were born wise. Your physical senses extend into the metaphysical world. And so learning how to harness that is an art and a science. So if this is something that you are into, please check out my 40 Days of Spirit product. It is an email product. You get 1 email a day for 40 days, and you get tools and strategies on how to develop your spiritual abilities. With the nodes, right? If you think about the nodes as the north node is the head of the dragon, it is eating, it is chewing, it is digesting, it is reaching for something, and it's what we need to embrace. The south node shows us what we are eliminating. It's the tail of the dragon, what we're releasing, letting go of, moving away from. So in 2025, Pluto is in Aquarius and it's staying there. What's changing is Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus, and that's big. They are not making small shifts, they are making big shifts. And so the texture of 2025 is going to be really, really different than other years. And so for you, Sagittarius, the first quarter of the year, this is going to be about home and family and restructuring the domestic scene, family matters. There's going to be kind of a lot for your first quarter, right? So we've got relationships that are mirroring what is needed in your inner child healing. And this is why it's going to be about home and family, tracing your lineage, tracing your roots, tracing your nervous system back to a point that is ready to come up for healing, right? So this is a really powerful, potent, interesting quarter for you. Yeah, so looking at the house that built you. In January, the nodes shift from Aries, Libra into Virgo, Pisces. And so this is a big shift. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Pisces is co-ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. And so the duality, right, of Mercury, practical Mercury, and spiritual Neptune is going to be evident. We're reaching for the good aspects of Pisces. We're embracing compassion, creativity, intuition, flow. You're really good at that, Sagittarius. You're a mutable sign. So being in flow and on this quest for spiritual truth, this is going to feel good to you. And so what we're eliminating, right, is over here, the challenging aspects of Virgo. So if you find yourself overthinking, overworking, getting into perfectionism, trying to have like some control issues or falling into that idea that we are in control, right? This is something that you need to be aware of that you're letting go of. Fade is on there. So in my lineage, fade stands for fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining. So if you find yourself in the trap of justifying something, you might be engaging in conflict or starting conflict or meeting someone in conflict. And so, letting go, dropping the rope, stopping fighting, this is something that is a great benefit in your toolkit, especially this year. So for you, Sag, the North Node in Pisces, this is why I'm saying like this is a focus on home and family. Spiritual growth is occurring through your family dynamics, through the family structure. This is a deep emotional connection that is showing you more about your roots and your lineage and where you came from and your ancestry. The other day, I went through some old family photos from albums I had never seen that I had rescued from my grandmother's house. And there were all these pictures of my great-grandmother and her kin that I had never seen. And she has these beautiful photos of Egypt and Hawaii and Iran and all of these beautiful places. She was such a great world traveler and a documenter of those things. And I saw myself in her, right? So there might be a moment for you to do something like that. That's really just as simple as a photo book. But maybe some of you are wanting to go on an ancestral journey back to your country of origin, right? So with the South Node in Virgo, what this is asking you to do is to be open to another career plan. job, a different way to serve your purpose. This can really challenge you. And this is going to be a big theme throughout the year, right? As the eclipses occur, you're going to notice like some stirring around your job, not necessarily a sense of security, but a different calling or a different position within your training. You know what I mean? So just remove rigid career plans, remove your ideas around it, and make space for something that's wanting to happen through you. A really huge defining moment of the year. Saturn is going to be right next to Neptune, and we are going to trace this as they're in Pisces right now. They're going to be exactly conjunct again in Aries the following year. And so this is an interesting planetary pattern to follow, but it does set a tone and a theme for the year where spirituality, Neptune, becomes serious business, Saturn. So paying attention to Saturn, the lessons of our elders, where we need to have discipline, where we need to have guidance and structure and borders, and then blending that into Neptune, where we need that connection with spirit. This is a year where a lot of people are going to be relying on their faith and their spirituality like never before, like all in, you know. Saturn and Neptune have a lot of dualities, and I've listed those for you here. So, you know, just being aware of the dualities between these themes as they are popping up for you or as you see them in the media. We are wanting to integrate structure, Saturn, into our spiritual studies. All right. Sag, as we start out the year, Mars is retrograde. It will go direct in February. But this first part of the year, while Mars is retrograde, right, starting in Leo, backing up into Cancer, we're going to see a lot of people having some internal conflict. Mars retrograde acts like a mini Venus in the sky. It's a little more subdued. Mars has this sense of wanting to go forward. So retrograde is an uncomfortable place. It feels like there's more irritability, discontent, restlessness, right? And an inability to access Cancer things, our emotions. So there could be some emotional suppression that you are seeing. So if somebody has a big, huge emotional reaction, it's probably rooted in something way, way deeper. It's not about the insert topic that they think they're mad about. So now you have the gift of seeing through that and putting on, you know, your own vision and your own armor against your spiritual armor that is protecting you from people's emotions spilling out sideways on you so that you can be solid, calm, concrete, easy about the emotional volatility in the field, right? So focus your fire, Sag, and realize that there's kind of more going on than meets the eye. For you, this can stir up some old emotional wounds, especially when it comes to finances, shared resources, shared land, investments that you've made with other people, and that can be emotional investments in terms of relationships. And so you are wanting to maybe spend some time reassessing how you respond emotionally. Your astrology chart, your human design chart, your work with your therapist or your astrologer to understand how you uniquely process emotions. It's all in your chart, and there's keys and clues for you there. Okay, amazing. So as Mars goes direct in February, Venus will go retrograde. So now we've got Mars direct and Venus retrograde, which acts like a mini Mars in the sky. And so now we've got kind of two Marses going on and the retrograde cycles of redoing things, reevaluating, resolving, recharging. What? Our love and money, Venus. So resolving issues with relationships, resolving issues with finances, coming to terms, being honest with a financial situation, paying off some debts, making a plan to do that slowly over time, coming into acceptance with who people actually are versus who we want them to be, losing expectations. So those are some things to do. Reconnecting with old friends, absolutely. What not to do, make big, huge, drastic changes to your appearance and big, huge, drastic decisions. This isn't the right time to do it. I also find I can usually find some good sales, some interesting sales going on while Venus is retrograde. You want to be mindful and careful about purchases you make during a retrograde, especially ones that require contracts and documents. And I'm not much of a thrifter or estate sale type person, but those are kind of the areas where it's like, oh, you might find something really interesting on Marketplace that is a great deal, right? With no regrets. But what you don't want to do is make big, huge, drastic decisions and then have some kind of financial regret. Again, don't fade Don't fix, argue, defend, or explain. If you're having to do that, you're engaging in conflict, you're pulling a rope, and you are trying to control a situation. And so there is much wisdom in surrender. Sagittarius, this Venus retrograde goes over your sector of home and family. It could be as simple as you want to visit your old home site or a place, a neighborhood that you grew up, or it could be as complex as untying some emotional knots with your family members. And so once Venus gets back into Pisces, you're going to feel like, okay, I know what I need to do to make my home a place of peaceful sanctuary, right? So we want to make home a place we run to, not away from. Now, as Venus goes retrograde, so does Mercury, right? Mercury goes retrograde in Aries and backs into Pisces. Mercury, we talked about as being associated with our nervous system and the quality of decisions that we're making. This goes through your sector of home and creativity. And so it could be that you're like, oh, this was an old idea and I'm going to recharge it. Or maybe you go through some old notebooks and get re-inspired by something. I wrote an entire product program, and with like no clue that I had already previously had that idea several years ago. And so I launched the product and I was flipping through an old notebook, and sure as like right as rain, there was the product. I mean, it was several years back. So it could be something like that. You're reworking something that is part of your creativity, some old ideas coming through. So again, revisiting roots and lineage, reflection on family dynamics, routine maintenance with your home. So the air filter, the outlets, the pipes, the things that just have to be done. Yeah, and then taking the heat and pressure off. Can we let somebody off the hook? All right, so 4 eclipses this year. The first 2 are in the first quarter. The first quarter is the longest piece, so thank you for bearing with me here. The first eclipse is a lunar eclipse. It's a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, right? And so the first and last eclipse of the year happen in Virgo. And so this is where we're going to have a power surge or a power outage in terms of too much work or not enough work. So whether you're in the camp of I've got so much, I'm overwhelmed, I can't keep up, or whether you're in like, oh my gosh, I'm panicking, where's the money going to be coming from? This is part of the eclipse. It's shaking up what is broken, so it gives you an opportunity to rebuild under a strong foundation. Virgo, right? Health and routine. So all of us get a reality check for our health and routine. So going into eclipse season, it's going to be really powerful for you to be as healthy as possible. Sagittarius, this one is about your career. So that career, public image, reputation, the way the world sees you, and also what the world really needs from you, your spiritual gifts. Study your midheaven, understand the way that your purpose unfolds is through the quality of your midheaven. It doesn't mean that you have to do midheaven things, right? You're according to your sign in your midheaven. What it means is the way that you do things is going to be guided by the sign that's in your midheaven. So you could gain some huge clarity on your professional path, reach a turning point, a pivot in your work life, and just be open, open to letting go of career-related stress, career-related plans, or career-related responsibilities that just aren't part of your values. This lunar eclipse is actually part of a moon family that started back in September of 2023 and will culminate in December of 2025. So the next eclipse is March 29th, and it is a new moon solar eclipse in Aries. It kicks off a new 2.5-year cycle. This is a really interesting time for shakeups, wake-up calls with some project that you are trying to start fresh with. It's in a fire sign, right? You're a fire sign, so there's going to be some flow with this one. But you do want to watch out for fire hazards. You do want to watch out for impulsive behavior. Aries eclipses have speedy effects, so they hit quickly and fade quickly. This is a reminder that your eclipse moments can happen up to 90 days in advance. So it may not be March 29th exactly, but you might notice if something like feels really impulsive and drops off quickly, that was your eclipse moment. These Aries eclipses are peppery, feisty, hot. So you want to be cautious around heated moments. This is when we see people say things they don't mean or can't take back. So just being careful, right? We see people quitting jobs, getting divorces, getting married, doing big, huge, drastic things because of the heat of the moment. And so sometimes the pressure builds so that it forces you to make a decision, and that's gold. Sometimes the pressure builds and you make a decision that you wish you hadn't. So having discernment with that is going to be really key, right? So this one for you, I think should be interesting and fun. It should be, yeah, I'm more creative, I'm more romantic, I'm tapped into that inner child. It could be something that new that you're starting to do with children, or something to do with like your own creative process, passion project, romantic connection, all of this stuff, starting now over the next 2.5 year cycle. All right, the last thing in the first quarter is that Neptune, right, the planet of the mystic and the yoga teacher and the bliss and the oneness that we can experience. Neptune represents the ocean and the mist. It's moving from Pisces, the water sign that's very ethereal and intuitive, into Aries, which is a fire sign that is hot and peppery, right? And so Neptune's movement into Aries, I love my friend Celeste Brooks, who helped me. We were brainstorming ways to think about what is Neptune into Aries, and I had all these crazy titles, and she came up with fate and free will. So fate is Neptune, free will is Aries. So this is how the astrology is going to play out. Neptune will be in Aries until 2039. Here are the dates for you. Fate is I was born with curly hair. Free will is I can style it however I want. I can straighten it, I can curl it, I can tie it up in a bun, I can braid it, I can wear a hat, but I'm still fated to have curly hair, right? I can dye it, I can cut it, I can do all kinds of things with my free will, but I still have what I have. And that's the gift of your natal chart. You have a structure for your life. There is order within the chaos of the universe. So Neptune dissolves, and Aries starts. Aries is a fire starter. So for you, Sagittarius, I think that this is going to be a really cool 12 to 14 year period where Neptune is jumping in and out of Aries, where your creative pursuits are going to pay off. And so give it time, right? You don't have to do it all right now at the first quarter of 2025, but there's going to be new energy when it comes to your hobbies, your passions, your desires, your romance, your partnerships, your interactions with children. And so the caution side of Neptune is that we can make things like we can be really idealistic about something and not very realistic about something. And so I want you to avoid getting caught up in overly idealistic ventures. We can be delusional is what I was trying to say. So if your creative ideas are awesome and you have a structure and a plan to them, Saturn's going to move into Aries next quarter, then that's great. But if you have these big ideas with no action plan and it's just words without boots on the ground doing something, you can expect them to fade, right? You can expect them to fade away and dissolve. So the second quarter of the year for you, Sagittarius, this is going to be a time when I want you to tap into your groups, your networks, and your community. You're going to get ideas, you're going to get inspired, you're going to share, you're going to be inspiring, you're going to bring the spiritual nuggets to your groups. But this is a time when you are really needing to get together, to know your community, to know those close friends that you have that share the same spiritual values and ideals. So I mentioned Saturn was moving into Aries. Here are the dates, right? It'll be there through 2028. Saturn is kind of like the cosmic granddad in the sky with boundaries and discipline and borders and forward thinking and savings and investments into the future. Saturn represents our fears, where we have to face everything and rise, right? Saturn represents our duties, our responsibilities, where we have to just kind of stay the course. There's not a lot of flexibility or impulsivity when it comes to Saturn. It's about discipline, chop wood, carry water. Saturn rules bones and teeth. Aries rules the face and the eyes and the ears. And so I feel like we're going to see new initiatives for elder care, for dentistry, for optometry, for chiropractic. And for you, Sag, I want your creative projects to take off. And so I want you to lean into the disciplines and the steps and the procedures and the new foundation that Saturn can give you in this fire sign that will foster discipline with your big ideas, that will give you that structure, that foundation that will let your big ideas grow. And I want you to get accountability from your community. So maybe a work buddy, or maybe your partner is good at this, but get some accountability so that your ideas will take off. Jupiter is moving into Cancer in June. Jupiter has been in Gemini, where it was uncomfortable, right? But it's moving into Cancer where it is exalted. Jupiter in Gemini, this is information overwhelm, propaganda, too much information, expansion of ideas rapidly. And so when it moves into Cancer, it's a little bit more comfortable placement. I have some dates there for you to reflect on when it was previously in Cancer. Jupiter represents our faith, right, and spiritual development, where we are expanding our hearts and minds, where we're connecting with other cultures, where we're getting a different worldview, where we are developing our philosophy. Jupiter also rules judges and legislation and justice and fairness in the legal system. It rules foreign trade, foreign languages, long journeys, long travel like overseas. Cancer, I always laugh about this. Jupiter glyph is 24. So Jupiter, Sag is my, I have Sag rising. And so Jupiter is my chart ruler. And I have a friend who said, Tiffany, you are 24/7. And I always think about that 24 with the Jupiter. It's like always on. Okay, so Cancer represents home and mother and the nursing industry and taking care of people medically and intuitively knowing what people need. The downside of Cancer can be controlling or fixing other people's business without being invited. But the good side of Cancer is that beautiful, soft place to fall where everything is just sweet and kind and in order. And it's just this great advice, you know, the best mother on earth. Who would that be? That's your Cancer vibe. So themes we're going to see are going to be real estate expansion, home expansion, kitchen renovation, family growth, and enhanced intuition. Jupiter, faith, Cancer, family. Those are going to be big themes in the media. For you, Sag, I want you to recommit to your spiritual practices for this year. What do you want to do? As Jupiter is in Cancer, what are the dates? June 9th of 2025 to June 30th of 2026. I want you to explore shared resources with a renewed devotion. Are you needing to make amends? Are you needing to have some forgiveness for somebody that you feel like should make amends to you? What is the balance here? Where can you kind of heal this shared resources in your life, and how can you commit to that? Offer a meditation or prayer group in your home, Cancer. This is a time of deepening your faith in collaborative or intimate spaces. Okay, so Mercury is going to retrograde here in the summer in fire sign Leo. For you, Sag, this is going to be when you get to network with old friends. Maybe you have a school reunion, a family reunion, a friend reunion. I want you to retool your gifts, the offer that you have for the world, and then share them out with your community, get some feedback, let the retrograde time give you space to edit. Revisit your shared values and goals with your group. Are we still on the same page? Do we need to modify some things? Gather in old and familiar places, right? Leo rules childlike wonder and the inner child and the heart. And so you could be gathering with some friends or family or loved ones in old and familiar nostalgic places. All right. Recommit to your spiritual mission statement. The third quarter of the year is going to be really, really pivotal for you. We've got love, home, and work all shifting. Okay, so I want you to keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. So Uranus moves into Gemini here in July, and you'll see that it'll stay until 2033. So Uranus is the great inventor in the sky, the Einstein, the aha, the great awakener, the shock and awe, the inventor, the rebel. The lightning bolt, right? And it has been in Taurus, sensuality, body, material world, physical stuff. It's moving into Gemini, which is all about information exchange. So the last time Uranus was in Gemini, the United States went to war. You can see other Uranus and Gemini history tidbits on my themes list for you. We'll probably see advances with drones, we'll have more information about the solar flares. Yes, there will be some educational reform big time. I think we'll see more homeschooling or people wanting to do school completely differently. Yes, so Gemini does rule the shoulders, the wrists, the nervous system, the lungs. And so we will see some innovation when it comes to those areas. genetics, space communication, self-driving cars, extreme weather. These will be themes, of course, that we will see. But for you, Sagittarius, what it's going to shake up is your relationship sector. And so there will be revolutionary changes in your love life or karmic partnerships that you're just not going to believe. They're going to be better and better and more interesting and awakening and karmically pivotal for you. You're going to have wild growth and evolution when it comes to you and your partnerships, your significant relationships. It doesn't mean that you have to be partnered. It can be your karmic relationships. Your karmic relationship can be your sister, right? It could be a child, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling. But there's somebody that you're really, you're keenly aware that their presence in your life is on purpose, that you have some kind of soul contract with. So I want you to be open to new dynamics within that and greater healing and greater receptivity to understanding yourself with your own spiritual development process. And this is going to give you deeper connections. Okay, the next two eclipses are here in September. This one, September 7th, is a full moon lunar eclipse. So themes from this eclipse started back in March of 2024. So get with your astrologer and study some of these patterns on these dates and what was going on in your chart. It's in Pisces, and the Pisces eclipses tend to be more draining, drowsy, watery, disintegrating, misty. In 2024, the eclipse in Pisces, we had news about the water boil notice. We had a pool close. I had a friend that had mold. This isn't predicting bad things, but it's showing you that there will be water news. There was something about a bridge that broke. But yeah, Sagittarius, for you, this is about your dream life in terms of home and family. And so I want you to allow yourself to experience like just the miracles that happen when you have these deep emotional revelations or changes to your living space. The way that when you have a dirty house, your mind is cluttered. When your house is organized and clean and clear, there's less decisions to make, there's less to look at. You have the ability to be more clean and clear with your decisions, your quality of life, the choices that you're making. And so this is a really interesting time to allow, the full moon to let go, release, eliminate old emotional baggage or ties to the past, and just maybe you're going through a drawer and it's as simple as that. You're like, I don't need that picture anymore, or I don't need that whatever anymore, and you're creating more peace in your home. And just trust that any changes or disruptions will give you a deeper sense of emotional security and peace. The second one is a new moon solar eclipse, starting off a new 2.5-year cycle now that will culminate in December of 2027, which is a very interesting year to watch in astrology. So this mimics the first eclipse. However, it's in the anaretic degree, which is 29. And there can be a sense of like, we have to make a decision and we're not sure and we're indecisive and we feel pressure when it gets to this end of the sign here. For you, I think it's going to provide you options in your career path that you maybe didn't see coming. And so it can be a good time. Again, your eclipse moment can happen up to 90 days in advance, right? So this could be a 90-day period where you get some kind of different job offer that takes you off on a new direction. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't take it. I'm just saying that it stirs something up in you for consideration. So it's a great time it's a new moon, right? So it's a great time to consider, what are the goals that I have with Virgo: career, service, my health, my routine, my day-to-day walk. Okay. And it's a good time to be recognized in your field, of course. All right, so October through December, this is going to be I think this is going to be the best time of year for you. And so the future is going to be so bright that you got to wear shades, Sagittarius. There's a theme here with education going on for November, right? During some of your birthday times, you're going to see Mercury retrograde in your sign and also in Scorpio. And so this is going to require you to have some kind of basic routine maintenance when it comes to your finances and yourself. So redoing your budget can actually have huge spiritual impacts on yourself. The story that I tell about a client who was like, oh, she's dating these guys and they always put her on the back burner and she's never thought of, and she's last place. And I said, how do you treat your money, right? And she said, well, I don't, I put it last, it's on the back burner, and I'm like, right, it's all the same things. And so how you treat your finances, with respect, are you folding the bills in order? Are you making deposits with gratitude? Are you keeping track of things on a spreadsheet? Are you aware of the spiritual energy in the form of money that's coming to you, through you, and how you are spending and receiving? What is your financial stewardship like? These considerations help with your financial sobriety, and then it also improves your self-image, how you think about yourself, how you hold yourself up in public, right? So what do you think about provision? Provision, what has it meant in the past? What does it mean now? What could it mean? And then just be aware that you are refining your personal goals and you're leaning into your higher power's will for your life. This is a retrograde period, is a good time to kind of let go of our plans and say, hey, what did you have in mind? And to be in the flow of the river of life, leaning into your higher power's design and plan. Okay, your main theme is education. How exciting is that? I am thrilled to report to you, Sagittarius, that giving and receiving and exchanging information is the major thing for you this year. And so this is great because it is naturally built into who you are. You are going to learn more, you are going to teach more, you're going to take some classes, you're going to adopt some new hobbies. You are going to welcome teachers and healers and wise elders into your circle who you trust, mentors, sponsors, big brothers and sisters, people that love you, adore you, and that want to help you on your path. And you're going to be that person for somebody else. You're going to have some school spirit. You're going to work with the themes of scholastics and university and wisdom. Pluto is in Aquarius through 2043. And so this is kind of 2024 through 2043. This is a great time in your life for you to be working with education as a main theme, tapping into the collective, tapping into a network. A long time ago, somebody told me I was going to be a teacher, and I'm like, I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm not going to go do that. Like, I can't see myself in the public school system with a chalkboard, right? But what I didn't realize is I could teach astrology, I could teach beekeeping, I can teach spiritual development. And so that lit me up, right? And so I got all the tools I needed to be able to teach. So some of you are in a tool gathering time, and some of you are in an information sharing time. And so how can you steward the information that you have to the best of your ability? All right, Sagittarius, one more time, I want to just invite you to use the code STORMY2025 to get your copy of the digital astrology calendar. It travels with you through any time zone. You can download it to any digital calendar device. I use Google Cal, maybe you use Android, maybe you use Windows, maybe whatever you use, it works in. They're universal calendar files. And it gives you resources, descriptions, what's going on in the astrology. You'll get to be an astrologer by the end of the year. If you've enjoyed this, I would love to connect with you. I'm at tiffanyharelik.com. Be sure you get your free horoscope PDF. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. I deliver a Friday forecast newsletter every week. I have a spiritual development membership, and I mentioned 40 Days of Spirit, which is a 40-day email product that you can start at any time, and it goes day 0 through 40, and it gives you strategies, tools, and techniques to develop your spiritual gifts. I also teach retreats. I do yoga and astrology on retreats. In 2024, we did Tulum and Austin. And in 2025, we're doing Santa Fe and Malibu, and I'm happy to come where you are if you'd like to hire me. That's it. So my main message, guys, is to love each other. We are called to love each other, serve each other. And I know that you can do it well, Sagittarius. You inspire people. On behalf of the 2025 forecast team, we love you. We wish you a prosperous new year, and stick around this channel because we will have more goodies for you throughout the year. So thank you for the honor of doing this work together. Again, I'm Tiffany Harelik, and namaste.